Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, it turns out Sony and a lot of these major corporations do actually listen to you, boys and girls, because if the latest rumors can be told to be true out there, or found out to be true at a later date, which more than likely they end up will be, and it looks like Ghost of Yotei is going to be delayed all the way until 2026, ladies and gentlemen. And apparently, according to some of these rumors as well, Sony is indeed listening to all of the backlash, and if things don't turn around for this game, we could end up seeing a much smaller game. And it's fascinating to hear the backstory behind this, the changes they've decided to make and get away from the main protagonist of the first one of Ghost of Tsushima. And of course, now all of this stuff is coming out, and it's very fascinating to see. And well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what we're going to go over here right now, because I am a big fan of Sucker Punch's games in the past. I was a huge fan of Infamous and Infamous 2. Thought the third one kind of went off the rails, didn't really like it, didn't really finish it, but I loved the first two. They were some incredible games. I had such a blast with that world. I love the concept of having the good and bad decisions and be able to go certain ways and have your powers change based on that. I love stuff with the morality meter and all that kind of stuff. I loved those games. They were so great. And I've heard nothing but good things about Ghost of Tsushima. Like my PlayStation doesn't work anymore, so I wasn't able to get a game. I wasn't able to get it and actually play it and try this out. But I know a lot of people absolutely loved it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it was just one of those things that obviously ended up doing a samurai story right, unlike what we're going to see in Assassin's Creed Shadows coming forward. So boys and girls, to see this kind of thing and to see Sucker Punch fall like this and continuing taking misstep after misstep, and it sounds like very much so because of all of the DEI kind of nonsense that they're going on out there with, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about right here. So we're going to share this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that this game is being pushed back to 2026, or does it surprise you even more that Sony might actually be listening to the fans and the audiences out there, and they don't want another disastrous dumpster fire on their hands, much like what they got with Concord? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. So, rumor, Ghost of Yotei to be delayed by 2026 after abandoning Ghost of Tsushima sequel. Yes, boys and girls, you were supposed to actually get a sequel with Jin as the character, and they decided to instead abandon all of that and make it all about a woman. Oh, color us shocked there. So, my dear sweet John F. Trent over at That Park Place. A rumor claims that Sony and Sucker Punch Productions recently announced Ghost of Yotei game will be delayed to at least 2026 after the company changed its vision from Ghost of Tsushima sequel to Ghost of Yotei. Oh, color us shocked there. I'm sure there was nothing. I'm sure that had to do nothing with DEI or Sweet Baby Inc. or any of the rest of that kind of stuff over at Sucker Punch. Now did it? Sony announced Ghost of Yotei during its most recent PlayStation State of Play at the end of September and revealed the game would release sometime in 2025. Sucker Punch Production Senior Communications Manager Andrew Goldfab declared on the PlayStation blog, "We are forever grateful for the success of Ghost of Tsushima, and we can't wait for you all to experience Ghost of Yotei in 2025. Wouldn't that just be beautiful egg on Sony's face? For them, and Sucker Punch's face as well, for them to have to delay it after saying it was going to be fine for 2025. But of course, this is not something that's unusual in the video game industry at all. We see games and projects get delayed, pushed back, and canceled all of the time. And boys and girls, it looks like that might be exactly what's going to end up happening with the sequel for Ghost of Tsushima. A little over a week since that announcement, a new rumor from YouTuber Ebimaon claims that the game will likely be delayed until 2026. He shared, "I was also told not to expect Yotei in 2025 at all. Apparently the game's nowhere near being done, but it's a very slim chance that this game is actually releases in 2025. It could very easily fall into 2026, but if you're getting your hopes up for coming out next year, probably don't do that." Every source that I spoke with said that they fully expect a delay at some point to be announced. Oh, color us shocked there. Early in his video, he shared that Sucker Punch was originally working on a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, not Yotei. And now, wow, what a strange concept. One of the most successful games that Sucker Punch has produced in years. They just want to do a direct follow-up sequel. And that makes sense. That's the smart decision to do. Just give us more of the same. Give us the same protagonist in the same world doing amazing and awesome things. But oh, no, because we know how it works in the modern era, especially in modern gaming era. It's wham and power forward no matter what, boys and girls. And literally the concept of this tiny, small female out there going out there and taking out all of these giant samurais and trying to run from them and take them out and just kick their butts and throw them around like nobody's business. Come on! That is not believable in any way, shape, or form. This is why we always have such problems with this kind of stuff, because you want to make them the bestest ever. And we'll see if that ends up happening in this game as well. So, initially they were supposed to have, it was actually intended to be Ghost of Tsushima 2, starring Jin Sakai. But sometime during development, the game was halted and then completely changed in vision. This Atsu character we see now was not originally decided to be the main character of this game. Oh, color us shocked there. Tell me something, boys and girls. Is Sucker Punch on the Sweet Baby Inc list? I can't remember. I don't think so, but I can't remember. But you know what? It doesn't matter if it's Sweet Baby Inc or not. There's a million other consultancy firms out there that tout the exact same kind of nonsense and push this kind of stuff into a games. So yeah, color us shocked there that the female protagonist was not the original intent, but of course they had to change it, because of course you can't have something that's super successful and a successful long-term franchise with a man as the lead. He's always got to get replaced by a woman. How'd that work out for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery? Oh, that's right, it was a billion-dollar disastrous dumpster fire. Wonder if that's going to happen here or not. Apparently, according to my sources, Yotoi's world and design are largely based on the assets that were being used while making Tsushima 2. Apparently, work began on Tsushima 2 around 2 months after the official sales data came through on the first game's success. Cause yeah, they made buco bucks off that game. It was a huge, huge success for the company. So yeah, duh, it makes sense. But oh no, no, no. Somewhere along the line, somebody had to come in there and go, you know what would make this even better? If it was made for a female. How'd that work out for Batwoman over there on the CW, boys and girls? Yeah. Eddie Mind then shared that the reason why Yotei will get delayed is due to the change in vision. These changes from Tsushima 2 to Yotei happened apparently within the last year. Wow. Wow. And what have we seen in the last year? What kind of crazy gaming changes have we seen in the gaming industry over the last couple of years? So the entire vision of the project has been changed. And considering the fact that we know many video games out there are in development for years, sometimes half a decade in some cases, or longer than even that, this is not something that you can just do overnight and completely and totally swap things out from your original visions, especially if you've got dialogue changes that you need to make, if interactions are based strictly on how the character appears and all of that kind of stuff, is not something you can do overnight. So it would not, I mean, literally, if they just made these changes in the last year, there is no way this game is going to end up being ready by then, unless they want to have another broken and buggy mess on their hands, just like we've seen with Star Wars Outlaws and all of these other kind of games that come out way too early, that are not finished, and they end up being a complete and total turd. Cyberpunk 2077, they even admitted that they're never going to get back a lot of their the majority of a good portion of their fan base, even after all the corrections they made. But this is something that is going to end up blowing up in their faces. He added, the era of placing the game 300 years in the future from Tsushima's story was decided because it would be more believable in Sucker Punch's internal talks for the game to star a woman at that point instead. Yeah, I don't think so, boys and girls. Even shoving it 300 years in the future is not going to work out very well if you know anything about Japan and its culture. Later in his video, Eddie Man also relayed, I'm told Yotei may be smaller than the original Tsushima because of the development problems behind the scenes and the fact that they sidelined Jin Sakai for this new Atsu hero instead. This led to a lot of asset flips and the story changing. Obviously! But the core idea of Jin being hunted down by Ronin was kept. But of course, he was replaced by a woman, Atsu, instead. You know, we wonder, people, you know, they yell at us. They go, whoa, 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 easy, easy, easy. Just because it's got a female protagonist, da, da, da. These are all red flags. That's why we get upset. That's why people have knee-jerk reactions, because we have seen this story done time and time again. We know what the signs are, and unless they can come out and prove us otherwise, we are going to assume, and more often than not, rightly so, that this is going to be a bunch of woke, hot garbage, just like everything we've seen Sweet Baby Inc. touch over the last few years. Why would we expect anything different? You have given us no reason to expect anything different. So yes, video game industry, yes, Sony, yes, Sucker Punch, you do deserve to have that automatic assumption thrown on you because we've done this dance before. And guess what? We're smarter than you, and we always have been. The customer is right, after all. He also shared that the Yotei is also allegedly being developed as a cross-gen game for PS5 and PS4, because Sucker Punch and Sony are worried that the game won't sell if it isn't available to a larger install base. Oh, color us shocked there. They know they've got worries on their hands. Finally, Edmond revealed that his sources informed him that the project could be scaled down depending on the public's reception. As I was told, if Yotei's reception does not improve, this could scale the game back in terms of scope and resources. If Sony starts to notice the public opinion on this game is not changing for the better, they'll opt for a smaller overall content package. Now, wouldn't that be a wise decision? What a crazy concept. You actually listen to your audience and your fans and your customers. You know, the people that pay your bills. What a strange concept that you would actually go and go, oops, I guess we kind of screwed up with this one. I guess we're going to scale things back. Wouldn't that be the smart idea? And then what happens too? What happens with this? All of this ends up getting confirmed when this game does finally come out in 2026, which we'll know here not too long. If this game is actually going to be delayed, we probably got 3 to 6 months before they have to force the actual announcement and actually make it. Who knows? It might come sooner than that. But imagine that. The delay ends up happening just like they expected, and I have no reason to not believe that happens. And then once the game comes out and people actually willingly go out there and pay for it and play it, whether to review it or not, we find out it's a much shorter campaign than what Ghost of Tsushima did. Watch it all come true, which is a good sign. Is a good sign. That is a positive thing, because that means Sony is listening to you. Sony is listening to the audience. Sony is listening to the customers. Sony is listening to the gamers. And they know that they potentially have a hot dumpster fire on their hands, and they can't even deny that at all. Of note, Goldfrog did share the PlayStation blog. The reason why Sucker chose to abandon Jinsaki's stories, we also wanted to continue to innovate, to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of Ghost instead. At Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it can mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. Oh, yes. A new hero wearing a ghost mask. Boy, what does that remind me of? Oh, yes. The line from the infamous Batwoman show. Well, that suit is perfect. It will be when it's made for a woman. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The ghost face was perfect. Jin was a perfect character. Everybody loved him. He was a great protagonist. But you know what would make it better? If he had a vagina. If he was a woman, that would make it so much better. Oh, that's going to sell so much more. Oh, those stupid gamers, they're not going to care. They're not going to think anything about it. Oh, they're not going to pay attention. They're stupid. They're just going to consume. Yeah. How's that working out for you? And we don't need to go over the rest of the BS of all the nonsense that he's pushing out there and all the BS that they've been talking about this. It's just a bunch of corporate speak and marketing nonsense that really doesn't amount up to a whole lot of anything. They can tell us how excited they are about all of these kind of things and how excited they were to explore a new origin story, and that's the reason why they did this. But we know better. We all know better. We've been paying attention for long enough. There's enough of you out there actually awake and paying attention to all of this kind of stuff to understand what this means, what all of this means. This was a forced diversity, inclusion, and equity move. That's exactly what this was. It even says from the insiders out there that the original creatives had no desire to go that direction. That initially, after 2 months, after they found out how successful the first one was, they were going to carry on with Jen's story. Just like they did with Infamous and Infamous 2. And what happened with Infamous 3? They wanted to go in a new direction. They wanted to do something new. They wanted to innovate. They had a new protagonist. And although it wasn't a female, it was a new protagonist. How'd that work out for them? When was the last time you heard about a new Infamous game coming out? Oh, that's right. You don't. That series has ended. That franchise is over. Just like there's a very good possibility that Ghost of Yotei will also kill the Ghost of Tsushima's sequel. And guess what? You decided to bet on diversity, inclusion, and equity, and not on your fan base, and not what's always worked before historically for you. You thought you could reinvent the wheel. You thought you could reinvigorate things. You thought you could be like the Most High. Well, how's that working out for you? You're already scrambling behind the scenes knowing this game is going to be hot garbage and it's not going to be received well by the fans. Well, I don't know what to tell you, except you get exactly what you deserve, Sony, and sucker punch, because after all, you chose this path and you did it to yourself.